Marc Marquez. He doesn't just need a title, he needs the myth confirmed. The greatest redemption story in modern motorcycling is complete. Marquez, after years spent fighting career-threatening injuries, metal plates, and the humiliation of riding satellite bikes, has done the impossible. He has won his 7th MotoGP world title in his very first season on the factory Ducati Desmosedici. The sheer psychological force required to return to the apex after such physical and professional trauma is incalculable. He secured the 2025 title with 2 rounds remaining, a phenomenal, relentless execution that announced his complete return to form. But for Marquez, the victory is not the end of the chase. It is the ultimate starting gun. The nature of his victory, achieved through clinical consistency, masterful tire management, and breaking the will of a field of younger rivals, has immediately raised the bar to a terrifying height. The only thing left to prove is that the myth of the unshakable dominant Marc Marquez is back, fully and permanently. He has spent the season managing risks, riding just below the absolute limit, always prioritizing the final result over the spectacular crash. This calculated approach is unsustainable for the legend he is. What he needs now is to transform his remarkable season into an unquestioned dynasty. The pressure on him is internal, maintaining the relentless focus and physical integrity that defined his first 6 titles. But now, against the existential threat of fatigue and age, he needs to eliminate the costly mid-race errors, the small front-end slides, the momentary lapses in judgment that still remind everyone he is human. He needs to show that his command of the Desmosedici GP26, the machine he helped develop, is absolute and total. He is no longer chasing redemption. He is chasing immortality. Every race he wins in 2026 must be a statement that his era is not ending. It is simply restarting, crushing the confidence of every young rider who dared believe the crown was theirs for the taking. The world is watching to see if the legend can survive being the target once again. Pecco Bagnaia. He needs to prove he is Ducati's true choice. Bagnaia entered the 2025 season as a 2-time world champion, the smooth, calculating, and rightful heir to the Ducati throne. He ended it thoroughly, defeated and humiliated by his new teammate, Marc Marquez. His year has been defined by brilliant, race-winning peaks, such as his flawless pole-to-flag victory in the season opener in Qatar, immediately followed by catastrophic, title-losing mistakes and DNF events like his crucial late-race crashes in Malaysia and Thailand. Bagnaia is a master tactician and a phenomenal rider, but the arrival and immediate clinical success of Marquez has shattered the internal hierarchy and created an unbearable atmosphere of doubt around the man who was supposed to be the undisputed leader of the factory team. The political betrayal runs deep. Bagnaia was promised the factory seat stability. Ducati's decision to promote Marquez, the man who almost single-handedly ended Bagnaia's title defense, was a cold, calculated move based on marketing value and the fear of losing the legend to a rival manufacturer. This decision fundamentally undermined Bagnaia's leverage and status. He is now forced to compete not just on the track, but in the boardroom. What he needs is to reclaim the psychological high ground. He needs to show Ducati's top brass, Gigi Dall'Igna, that his future worth is greater than the legend he shares a garage with. Marquez's contract only runs through 2026. Bagnaia's need is to be so relentlessly fast and mistake-free in the first half of 2026 that Ducati is compelled to offer him a long-term rider of choice contract, even if it means an ultimatum against the older champion. His strategic, methodical style must triumph over Marquez's improvisational genius. Pecco must prove with absolute finality that he is the man who can build and sustain the next Ducati dynasty, and that his defeat this year was merely an anomaly, not the beginning of a permanent decline. The stability of the entire Ducati program hinges on his ability to defeat the man they should have feared the most, Jorge Martin. He needs a new title-winning blueprint at Aprilia. Martin, the reigning 2024 world champion, was heartbroken when Ducati, in a move that shook the paddock to its core, promoted Marquez instead of him. His immediate response was the biggest power move of the silly season: signing with Aprilia Racing for the 2025 season. This wasn't just a simple switch. It was a furious, professional statement of independence. Martin must now prove that his title was a product of his sheer, aggressive talent, and not simply the best version of the Desmosedici machine. His mission is a monumental technical and psychological hurdle. He is known for his signature style of pushing the front tire to its absolute limit, a technique perfected on the highly stable Ducati chassis. He must now successfully transplant this explosive, aggressive riding philosophy onto the challenging Aprilia RSGP. The Aprilia has always been characterized by promising but volatile speed, struggling with mid-corner stability and consistency across different tracks and temperatures, the very areas where Martin needs unwavering confidence. What he needs is to close Aprilia's long-standing technical gap and eliminate the bike's inherent inconsistency. If he can achieve this, if he can turn the volatile Aprilia into a sustained title contender, matching the Ducati's results, his legacy will be cemented as a rare machine-transcendent talent. If he struggles to adapt while his former Ducati rivals continue to dominate, the narrative shifts instantly to one of an angry escape that prematurely ended his time at the pinnacle. Martin is racing to ensure his name is on the list of true greats, not just one of the great Ducati riders. His success or failure will dictate whether Aprilia can finally step out of the shadows. Fabio Quartararo. He needs a V4 engine that actually works at Yamaha. The 2021 world champion is stuck in a painful, career-defining limbo. His raw talent remains supreme, evidenced by his ability to occasionally drag the struggling inline-4 Yamaha M1 to unexpected pole positions. But his machine is fundamentally and brutally uncompetitive against the dominant V4 philosophy of Ducati, KTM, and Aprilia. He is constantly overriding the bike in search of mythical grip and horsepower, qualifying miraculously, only to watch his machine drop like a stone in the race as the V4s disappear into the distance. His need is not a contract extension. He has secured one, extending into 2026, or a morale boost. It is a radical, fundamental technical overhaul. Quartararo has been relentlessly vocal about Yamaha's existential need to abandon the M1's long-standing inline-4 philosophy and switch to a V4 engine concept to match the crucial horsepower of the European manufacturers. He has spent years in the wilderness, and his patience is demonstrably exhausted. The stakes are enormous. After testing the V4 prototype for the 2026 season at the crucial Misano test, Quartararo delivered a public, explicit ultimatum. I don't see any progress in the areas we need. The top speed is pretty slow. The grip is still not there. His future with Yamaha hinges entirely on the competitiveness of that V4 machine. If Yamaha cannot provide him with a V4 prototype that shows substantial race-winning promise in 2026, Quartararo will be the most sought-after free agent for 2027. His need is to see the proof of concept, not promises, not data sheets, but sheer, blinding speed. That his career will not be spent fighting for 10th position on a dying technical philosophy, while the rest of the grid races V4 missiles. Yamaha's legacy, and his own, hangs on that engine design. Pedro Acosta. He needs to win the internal KTM battle immediately. The Shark of Mazarin is not just the future of the sport. He is the most electrifying young talent since the ascent of Marquez. His rookie year was a blazing, immediate success, culminating in multiple podiums and a stunning promotion to the Red Bull KTM factory team after just a handful of races. He is operating under the heaviest weight of expectation, the man identified by the Austrian giant as their next true champion. He must now prove that he is the present of the KTM project, not just the future. He must immediately establish superiority over his teammate, the proven but less explosive Brad Binder. KTM's history is full of promising riders who burned out fighting their teammates or struggling with development. Acosta cannot afford to fall into the shadow of the established KTM man. His aggressive yet smooth technical riding style has shown an uncanny ability to maximize the RC16 chassis. His need is to win races, to deliver the crucial development feedback, and to command the direction of the 2026 bike. He needs to make the RC16 an extension of his own will, establishing a new dynamic where the team's entire engineering focus revolves around his specific needs. If he wins the internal battle in the first half of 2026, he becomes KTM's undisputed golden boy, validating the massive career-altering gamble they made on him. If he doesn't, the pressure of being the next big thing will become a millstone, and he risks being relegated to a secondary role under a man whose loyalty to the factory runs deeper. Brad Binder. He needs to secure his alpha status and contract extension. Binder has been KTM's foundation for years, the long-serving, hard-charging ultimate warrior. He is consistently fast, relentlessly aggressive, and utterly dependable, often delivering the best results on pure will and grit. But the arrival of Acosta, the new, faster king, puts his status into question for the first time in his Premier Class career. Binder is in a unique position. He's proven his loyalty, but the sport only cares about the stopwatch. He entered the 2025 season struggling to adapt to the latest evolution of the RC16, which seemed to favor Acosta's technical smoothness over Binder's raw, aggressive approach. This led to Binder being the only KTM factory rider yet to stand on a podium midway through the season. An unacceptable situation for a man of his caliber. What Binder needs is a breakthrough season-long charge, where he is consistently battling for the title, proving that he is not merely a second-best driver compared to the young talent. He needs to use his experience and precision to force Acosta into mistakes, securing his seniority and influence over the team's development path. The most immediate stake is his long-term contract. While Acosta is secured, Binder needs to pressure KTM for an extension into the 2027 era. If he is comprehensively beaten by his younger teammate in 2026, he risks being relegated to a brilliant but ultimately secondary rider, his value diminished. Binder's need is to show that the team's loyalty and massive financial investment should remain squarely with the man who built the program and has earned the right to lead it into the next technical cycle. Miguel Oliveira. He needs one career-saving podium, or his Yamaha lifeline is cut. The Portuguese maestro is facing a terminal crossroads. He is on his third manufacturer in 3 years, having landed at the Prima Pramac Yamaha team for 2025 alongside Jack Miller. This move was his last major chance to prove his consistent ability in the Premier Class after a promising but ultimately inconsistent stint on the Aprilia satellite bike. The machinery is demanding, but the pressure is entirely self-imposed. Oliveira is known for his wet weather brilliance and his smooth, almost precise riding style, but the 2025 season has been a visible disaster for him. He has struggled mightily with the M1, often languishing outside the points, failing to adapt to the bike's front-end weakness. His season was further derailed by an injury sustained early on, forcing him to miss 4 crucial Grand Prix and severely affecting his development work. His contract is short-term, and the towering shadow of World SBK champion Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, who is confirmed to join Yamaha in 2026, has been cast directly over his seat. Yamaha, using a performance clause, opted not to renew Oliveira's contract for 2026, preferring the high-ceiling potential of the World SBK superstar. Oliveira's need is now desperate and immediate. He must secure at least one podium or a string of top 5 finishes in the final races. Without a tangible, spectacular result to remind potential employers of his brilliance, his lifeline to MotoGP will be severed in favor of the younger talent, relegating him to the role of a brilliant but failed one-time factory rider. Every race is an audition for the rest of his career. Franco Morbidelli. He needs consistency to erase the memory of the past. The 2020 World Championship runner-up has spent the last 4 years fighting a professional ghost, the ghost of the rider he once was. After suffering a severe knee injury, followed by a disastrous, confidence-shattering tenure at the factory Yamaha team, Morbidelli has been given a critical lifeline at the VR46 Ducati satellite team. The machinery is competitive, and the environment is familiar. He's back in the trusted, supportive Rossi family camp. What he needs is agonizingly simple. To prove his 2020 form wasn't a fluke, he needs to deliver week-in, week-out consistency, finishing races, and consistently challenging his teammate, Fabio Di Giannantonio, who has shown flashes of brilliance on the same equipment. Morbidelli's need is to shed the narrative of the injured lost talent and establish himself as a dependable top-8 point-scoring asset. The mental hurdle is immense, relearning how to trust the front end, how to race in a pack, and how to recover from a bad session. He is under no illusions. The VR46 team, founded on high-performance potential, has no problem bringing up talent from Moto2. Without a full season of unassailable consistency, a complete professional return to form, the VR46 lifeline will be regretfully withdrawn. Morbidelli's redemption is purely psychological, requiring him to overcome the deep-seated lack of confidence implanted by years of struggling on uncompetitive and ill-handling machinery. Jack Miller. He needs to prove his value as a technical asset. The charismatic Australian is the ultimate journeyman, a Grand Prix winner on multiple machines, yet never truly settling into a single long-term factory relationship. He is another victim of the relentless performance treadmill, having been bounced from both the KTM and Ducati factory rosters. He found himself surprisingly handed a short-term, high-stakes contract at Prima Yamaha for 2025. Miller is known for his raw, hard-braking talent, but his results have become volatile. His true value now is not just his speed, it's his engineering feedback. Yamaha is fighting for its life, tasked with closing a massive technical gap in the V4 era. Miller, having ridden and won on the best versions of the Ducati and the KTM V4s, possesses rare, invaluable technical insight into what the M1 needs to change. His role is to be the development mule and the technical conduit. What he needs is to use his vast V4 experience to provide the data Yamaha needs to transform the M1. His contract renewal, recently confirmed for 2026, is tied less to podiums and more to his engineering success. However, his 2025 results are poor. He sits outside the top 15 in the standings, creating a brutal dichotomy, a highly valued development rider who cannot deliver consistent race results. If Miller can be the catalyst for a V4 technical breakthrough, his contract is safe. If the Yamaha struggles persist, he becomes an expensive short-term gamble that failed to deliver the required insight, leaving his long-term future precarious. He is racing to prove that his mouth is as valuable as his right wrist. Luca Marini. He needs Honda to show him commitment. Marini took the biggest risk of any young rider in the paddock. He walked away from a competitive Ducati to lead the utterly struggling Honda factory team after Marc Marquez's departure. His first year was brutal, spent almost exclusively at the back of the grid, but he was patient, methodical, and delivered the precise technical feedback HRC desperately demanded. He became Honda's ultimate test rider, sacrificing his personal career results for the good of the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer. What he needs is to see that patience rewarded with visible, tangible results. Honda needs to show visible, undeniable progression with the RC213V chassis, providing the kind of performance that justifies the career sacrifice Marini made. HRC has promised him the world, utilizing the new concession rules to fast-track development. Marini needs to see those promises turn into consistent top 10 finishes by the start of 2026. If Honda continues to languish and fail to deliver a bike capable of fighting for the podium by the start of 2026, Marini's loyalty, despite the factory money, will evaporate. His need is not just a faster bike, it's a commitment from HRC, backed by unprecedented budget and engineering focus, that they will spend whatever it takes to return to the top before he is forced to seek salvation elsewhere. He cannot afford another year of being a glorified test rider while his former VR46 teammates challenge for wins. Maverick Vinales. He needs to end his cycle of volatility. Vinales is the ultimate paradox of modern MotoGP. He is the only rider in history to win races with 3 different manufacturers, which speaks to his sheer, unadulterated talent. Yet, his career is a narrative of brilliance undone by an almost pathological streak of mental volatility. He walked away from Yamaha after a chaotic incident. He was dropped by Aprilia after a promising but inconsistent tenure. And in 2025, he started a new chapter at Red Bull KTM Tech 3 alongside Enea Bastianini. Vinales' current legacy is the ultimate tragedy of unfulfilled potential. His talent suggests championship contention. His history suggests chaos. He is a phenomenal rider for the first few races on any new machine, only to quickly fall out of sync with the bike and the team when the inevitable mid-season struggles arrive. His placement on a satellite KTM team, despite the factory machinery, is the final warning sign. What every rider on the grid needs to understand from Vinales' career is that peak unadulterated speed is useless without mental consistency. He needs to find a way to make the KTM work, but more importantly, he needs to stay happy and focused, resisting his established pattern of professional self-destruction when the bike refuses to yield. If he fails here, his career becomes the permanent reference point for a talent that never mastered its own mental game, forever relegated to the role of a brilliant enigma rather than a stable, unrelenting champion.